So first thing that we do, as you mentioned earlier, John, you were talking about that you need to have like at least bachelor's degree, but actually this is not enough. Bachelor's degree, foreign bachelor's degree or US bachelor's degree does not qualify you automatically for H-1B, right? It has to be like specialty occupation, like your actual job that requires like specialized knowledge, right? That like you cannot get it from, easy. I would say that. Okay, so we need to make sure that your job, proposed job, qualifies as specialty occupation. This is number one thing that we do. Then we need to talk with employer and see if they can pay the so-called prevailing wage. So what is the prevailing wage? It's certain threshold below which H-1B basically will not work because employer cannot pay less than that. And again, it was done primarily to protect American labor market. Yeah. So if everything good with that, yeah, prevailing wage, it depends on location, it depends on experience, it depends on education, some special requirements, supervisory duties, and so on and so on and so on. So then after that, again, and the difference in pay may be like quite significant depending on experience, education, and so on. Next thing, we need to make sure that candidate's education matches the proposed position. It doesn't have to be like 100% match, right? But it has to be like at least close, I would say. Okay, then we as attorneys, what we usually do, we need to make sure that the potential H-1B candidate is admissible to the United States. So what does it mean? It means that people with certain criminal history, they may not be admissible. It's a whole complicated topic that I don't want to dive into right now, but you have to make sure that you are admissible in the United States. And if you're already here in the United States under like different non-immigrant status, we need to make sure that you qualify for the change of status. Because again, under current conditions, pandemic and so on, it probably would be better to do a change of status rather than do like consular process through the embassy. Yeah. So, and please make sure that you have valid unexpired passport. Generally, it's not that it is required for the H-1B registration. There is such an option that you can choose that like a passport number not available, but it's better to have it than not. So make sure that if your passport is expiring, make sure to renew it.
One note that you referenced regarding inadmissibility, one thing we see pop up for H-1B is people who had a J-1 visa. A J-1 visa holder, if they're subject to what's called a 2-year home residency requirement, they're not allowed to change status or even get the H-1B until they get done or waive the 2-year home residency requirement. And one of the primary ways you know that is you check your visa if it says subject to the 2-year residency requirement or not home residency, or the DS 2019. Sometimes the State Department makes mistakes on those two forms of visa and the form DS 2019. It doesn't list it. So as a law firm, we always have to check what is the work that you did. Is this work that automatically gets hit by that? This is typically if you got money from the U.S. or your home country for this study that you're doing or research you're doing in the United States, or if you're from a certain country doing a certain type of work and experience in the United States, or if you're a medical student on J1, there's all these things that prevent you from getting the H-1B. I see it frequently when people are happy, they got an employer, wants to file for the H-1B, and then they come to my office and we realize they're subject to the 2-year home residence requirement. We have to get it waived first. And that takes a long time and they might miss the boat on things. So that's something to be careful of.
Right. And regarding the inadmissibility issue, I also want to mention something, but I forgot.
No problem.
I'll go back to yeah, once I don't have something written in my notes, it just like flies somewhere, and I cannot keep track of it. Yes. So the next step would be for first-time H-1B employers. If your employer has never filed H-1B petition, is to get their employer's identification number verified with the Department of Labor for future LCA, which is labor condition application. And this is easy process. There is no problem with that. It's done by email. You have to send an email to lca.chicago@dol.gov. You have to submit supporting documents such as Form SS4, which is IRS form that everyone who opens up a business should get at the beginning. But if you don't have this form, for example, if the employer doesn't have this form, some other documents can substitute this paper, such as like federal state tax return, business license, but basically anything that has this employer's identification number written in, like coming from like some third party. And this process usually takes like 3-7 business days. Okay, but again, because this year, most likely there will be a lot of H-1B applications, because just last year, USCIS received like more than 300,000 H-1B initial registrations.
Yeah.
And again, there are only 85 visas available. So, yes, the next thing that we need to do is we need to, in terms of preparation for H-1B, this is just the preparation part, right? Yeah. This is not the actual thing. We need to get the potential employee, H-1B employee, they have to get their foreign diplomas, transcripts, and their foreign credentials evaluated. It can take some time, again, so you'd better be doing it right now, somewhere in February. And again, you can use it later for something else. It's not that you're going to waste your money and time for that. John, I see that you're reading something, and it must be something very interesting.
Sorry, no, it's just the daily grind of this kind of stuff and deal with the embassies, but go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so again, the next step that we have to do to prepare for H-1B is I think that's it. I went over everything. Yeah, so the next time is registration itself. But before do the registration, you have to open up the online USCIS specific H-1B account. You cannot open this H-1B account, for example, now, because USCIS will allow it only this year, February 21st at 12 p.m. Eastern. They start allowing open this H-1B registration accounts for employers. So we have to do it in advance. Again, not to wait.
About that is pretty annoying is that they make it so where if you have multiple employers filing for you, and that could be a problem, they could cancel you out of the system. There's lawsuits about that going on. Or, you can't game the system by having like one employer file and register for you 5 different times. That'll cancel you out. So be careful. They don't allow any games with this, and you don't want to lose your chance. This is just another way that the problem could get mixed up. So just be mindful of that happening. Multiple registrations could be a big problem. Thank you for watching this educational program. To get the latest videos, click the subscribe button and the notification bell icon. Also, help us help the immigrant community by liking this video and sharing it with your family and friends. You can also find us on other social media sites like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, and Twitter, where you find the latest updates on immigration news, policy changes, and tips. Be safe and God bless. See you soon.